Welcome to Asia Outlook. I'm Melody and I'm here to report the top stories from around Asia. The DPRK was holding ceremonies to mark its Victory Day on Monday. July 27th is the day it signed the Korean War Armistice, which ended hostilities with South Korea in 1953. It comes as Pyongyang reports its first suspected COVID-19 case. CGTN Jack Barton has more from Seoul.
Kim Jong-un still turned up at the country's largest war cemetery and then had a pistol handing out ceremony with officers. That all went ahead as scheduled. But in Kaesong, the industrial town on the border with South Korea, just north of the DMZ, that's a different matter. That entire town has been shut down now as the DPRK lifts its already state of emergency to what state media is reporting Kim Jong-un is saying is the top tier. So total close down there, and that's after what the DPRK is calling a runaway returned after 3 years in South Korea. And South Korean officials are confirming they now believe that did in fact happen. And what they say is this individual, a 24-year-old male, they're just calling Kim, went to an island very close to the DPRK, went into a sewer that went underneath the barbed wire fence, past the South Korean military, and then swam across that few kilometers, reaching the shore and then evading the DPRK's military, getting there. So, we're hearing from Pyongyang, Kim Jong-un wants the soldiers punished who let this person slip through. There's even going to be a review down here in South Korea of how this could have happened. But again, at the moment, they're just saying it's a suspected COVID-19 case. He hasn't been officially confirmed. They're saying he has symptoms. It could, of course, be hypothermia after swimming at least a couple of kilometers to reach the DPRK. The concern here in South Korea is this might be used politically by the DPRK to try and blame any cases that are potentially already there on South Korea, though so far we're not seeing that happen. In fact, the DPRK press seem to be quite careful to distance these two issues from this returnee and the issue of South Korea's involvement.
Former Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak has been handed down a 12-year jail sentence after he was found guilty of all charges in the first of his 5 corruption trials linked to the One Malaysian Development Berhad scandal. Najib has vowed to appeal the verdict.
Definitely not the end of the world, because there's a process of appeal, and we hope that we would be successful then. We believe in our innocence. We believe that we have a strong case. I must be some sort of soothsayer if I can predict the result. But as always, you hope for the best, but you prepare for the worst.
In France, assembly has begun at what's been called one of the most ambitious energy projects in the world. On Tuesday, leaders from the European Union, China, the United States, and 4 other nations marked the occasion at a ceremony. CGTN Ross Cullen has more on the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor, or ITER.
It's a giant, complex 3D puzzle, hoping to provide a future energy source for the world. The International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor aims to advance fusion science and prepare the way for the fusion power plants of tomorrow.
We understand the need of humanity for clean energy. Our goal is to leave a better energy future for our children and future generations. So we move forward with a deep sense of purpose, with gratitude for this historic opportunity. We cannot afford to fail.
35 nations are collaborating to build the world's largest tokamak. That's a magnetic device designed to prove that fusion can supply carbon-free sources of energy in the future.
Fusion is a very safe and clean energy. It is limitless, abundant, and if it is successful, it will help the humankind to resolve the energy issue.
China is one of the countries involved, and President Xi Jinping sent a message which was read out by the Chinese science minister.
I wish to extend warm congratulations on the start of machine assembly at the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor. Science is not bound by national borders, and innovation is a never-ending endeavour. International cooperation on science and technology is critical to humanity's response to global challenges.
The project, known as ITER, is mammoth and complicated, putting together the most complex machine ever built, capable of withstanding temperatures of around 150 million degrees Celsius, forcing particles to collide with each other, fuse together into helium nuclei and release energy. Leaders hope the experiments will be a success, turning the idea of recreating the sun's energy from one of science fiction to one of science fusion. Ross Cullen, CGTN.
A jewelry store in Surat, India is selling diamond-studded masks as protection against the coronavirus. Pure diamonds and American diamonds have been used with gold to make these masks. Chinese President Xi Jinping, also General Secretary of the Communist Party of China's Central Committee and Chairman of the Central Military Commission, announced on Friday the commission of the Beidou 3 satellite navigation system at a ceremony marking the completion and launching of the system.
I declare Beidou 3 global satellite navigation system is officially launched.
Recently, a pair of statues erected in South Korea of a man resembling Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe kneeling and bowing to a seated girl, symbolizing South Korea comfort woman, a term used to describe Korean women forced to work in Japan's wartime brothels, has sparked controversy in Japan. Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga warned that if reports of the statue being modeled after Abe were true, it would be an unforgivable breach of international protocol. The head of the privately run botanical garden, who commissioned the work later, clarified the kneeling figure was meant to represent anyone who could be in the position to apologize formally for the historic wrong, and it was not Abe in particular. Margaret Harris, spokesperson for the WHO, says the spread of the novel coronavirus does not appear to be impacted by seasonality, warning against false beliefs that the summer season is safer. She pointed out that some of the hardest hit countries are currently in the midst of a different season. Let's take a listen.
Season does not seem to be affecting the transmission of this virus currently. What is affecting the transmission of this virus is mass gatherings, is people coming together and people not social distancing, not taking the precautions to ensure they are not in close contact. There seems to be this fixed idea about this virus being seasonal, but there is a huge outbreak. The most intense, the highest numbers are being experienced in the USA. They are in the middle of summer. Also Brazil. They are in the middle of, they are an equatorial country.
Stay with us as we bring you more news on Asia Outlook. Chinese State Councilor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi held a video conference with foreign ministers from Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Nepal on Monday and called on more efforts to strengthen coordination over the prevention and control of COVID-19. CGTN Li Yang has more from Beijing.
Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi has proposed opening up a green channel for logistics as well as a fast channel for exports of Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Nepal to help enhance cooperation in the fight against COVID-19, pursue the Belt and Road Initiative, and promote economic growth in the digital field.
Some countries politicize the epidemic, stigmatize others, distort facts, and undermine cooperation for their own political needs. They will eventually be nailed to the pillar of historical shame. All parties should adopt a rational and scientific attitude to oppose any discriminatory remarks and practices, adhere to the basic international moral values, support the WHO, and build a healthy human community.
Wang Yi said China and Pakistan Economic Corridor and the Trans-Himalayan three-dimensional interconnection network will be actively promoted. China has also been helping Pakistan fight COVID-19, especially in the capital Islamabad. In recent months, the China-aided isolation hospital and the infections treatment center has enhanced the country's capability to fight COVID-19 and ease the pressure on surrounding hospitals. And the corridor will be extended to Afghanistan. The ministers of the three countries thanked China for providing medical supplies and food support and welcomed President Xi Jinping's announcement that China's COVID-19 vaccine will be considered a global public good. Liu Yang, CGTN, Beijing.
Fashion designers in Thailand were designing stylish masks prior to COVID-19. In the capital of Bangkok, the decision to wear a mask is not always driven by a person being sick. Masks are now an important accessory on designers' to-do lists.
Catwalk models in Berlin previewing the latest collection from Anya Gokul. And the hot new accessory is the face mask. Made from the same colourful fabrics as the collection, these are designed to complement the outfits and the wearer. But in Asia, fashion designers have been working with face masks for some time. Thai fashion label Greyhound turned their creative attentions to face masks at the beginning of the year. Heavy pollution in Bangkok had made mask wearing a common practice, and when COVID-19 hit, they had a line of masks ready to go. Creative director Bodin Apiman shows me some of the most successful ones.
พอเข้าใจเหมือนกันแบบว่าพอรู้มาว่าเขาไม่ค่อยใส่หน้ากากกันเพราะมันมองว่าเป็นเรื่องของเกี่ยวกับดูเหมือนเป็นคนป่วยนะครับต้องป่วยเท่านั้นถึงจะใส่หรืออะไรอย่างนี้ใช่ไหมครับแต่ว่ามันก็เกี่ยวมากเพราะตอนนี้พอมันสถานการณ์ที่จำเป็นน่ะ
But there's been considerable resistance to the wearing of masks in the UK, the US and elsewhere. The issue has even become a signal of political affiliation rather than general public health benefit. That debate never happened in Asia. Cindy Bishop is a former Miss Thailand, host of Asia's Next Top Model and women's rights advocate. She believes the mask should be celebrated, not hated.
For us it's common sense, I think, and in terms of masking the individuality, well then it just becomes an extension of what I'm wearing today.
But whether it's fashionable or merely functional, face mask is now universal on the streets of Bangkok.
An Indian businessman who recovered from COVID-19 has converted his office into an 85-bed facility to provide free treatment for the poor. India so far has more than 1.5 million confirmed cases, with a death toll nearing 35,000. Online child sex abuse cases in Thailand are set to hit a record high this year, with cyber sex predators exploiting the COVID-19 crisis to target more children. The police-led Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force has rescued more than 100 children in the last 2 months, almost double the 53 victims helped in 2018, which was the highest annual figure since its foundation in 2016.
What you are watching is an early morning raid. This man has been accused of rape and exploiting children for sexual abuse online. The victim is his own daughter. She is just 12 years old. This is Operation Save Children, a nationwide cyber sting operation led by the Thailand Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. The arrest was made, but sadly, just a drop in the ocean as COVID-19 brought a tsunami of dark online activity.
We knew that during lockdown, everyone would be on the internet. We have seized 150,000 files and rescued over 100 children. All these children were victims. With the lockdown, the number of online child abuse cases just shot up.
And that was just in 2 months. The number of rescued children is almost double the entire year in 2018. More time on the internet means more exposure to predators online, through chat rooms, mainstream social media, through the dark web. Interpol reported a 10,000% increase in the amount of child sexual exploitation material on the internet since 2004. This material is everywhere, and it's ever more available.
It's really quite hard to imagine how these officers can go through all this content every single day. But the sad truth is, things are getting worse. The internet is full of explicit images, and sadly there is a huge, massive unseen world where images and videos of children are made, shared and sold.
This is a drop-in center for children. This place is a safe haven, a home. Dozens go through these doors every day. All have suffered unimaginable abuse.
On a chat app, they told me to take photos of my private parts and do video calls. Out of 10 people, I would say 8 or 9 would make me send these photos.
Not far away is a call center. The phones don't stop ringing. These operators provide a direct link between children and support services. In January, they answered around 600 calls. In May, they received around 4,000 calls from children in distress.
Usually we get to know about a case of online abuse or exploitation when it's usually very, very late. Technology is always one step ahead, and the perpetrators learn and adopt technology much faster than law enforcement as well.
But progress is being made. The Thai government is working closely with international agencies, acting on tip-offs and making more arrests. Legislation is also being drafted that will criminalize the grooming of children.
The Chinese mainland has reported 127 new COVID-19 cases, most of which were local infections and found in northwest China's Xinjiang region. Xinjiang has recorded more than 500 cases since an outbreak emerged 2 weeks ago. The remaining locally transmitted cases were in the northeastern province of Lailing, and those were traced back to a seafood processing plant. 4 of the cases were imported. Travel is coming from abroad, with 3 in Guangdong province and 1 in the city of Xinjiang. The World Health Organization says the coronavirus pandemic is the worst global health emergency it has ever faced. At an online news conference on Monday, WHO Director General said the pandemic continues to accelerate, with over 16 million cases reported worldwide. He also said the organization's emergency committee met on Thursday to discuss on the situation. Tedros called on people to strictly adhere to health measures.
Monday, WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said the pandemic continues to accelerate, with over 16 million cases reported worldwide. And he also said the organization's emergency committee will meet on Thursday to discuss the situation. Tedros called on people to strictly adhere to health measures.
COVID-19 has changed our world. It has brought people, communities, and nations together and driven them apart. It has shown what humans are capable of, both positively and negatively. We have learned an enormous amount, and we're still learning. But although our world has changed, the fundamental pillars of the response have not. As we mark 6 months since the declaration of the global health emergency, the COVID-19 pandemic is illustrating that health is not a reward for development. It's the foundation of social, economic, and political stability. We are not prisoners of the pandemic. Every single one of us can make a difference. The future is in our hands.
Most people know Bob Dylan, the pop culture icon, as a musician or a writer, but now his identity as a painter and sculptor is also getting increasing attention. Bob Dylan's retrospective exhibition is on a global tour and was just inaugurated in Beijing on July 25th at the Today Art Museum after making its debut in China last year. Titled Retrospectrum, the opening date of the exhibition was postponed 1 month due to the coronavirus, but it didn't dampen the audience interest. There are more news coming on Asia Outlook, so make sure you stick around. Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte on Friday told his people they should use gasoline as a disinfectant for protective face masks and stressed that his advice was not a joke. The outspoken leader last week made a similar remark about using petrol on masks if cleaning agents were unavailable, which his spokesman said was a joke and reminded the public that Duterte often says things in jest. Since March, mask wearing has been mandatory in the Philippines, which has confirmed nearly 90,000 coronavirus infections and more than 2,000 deaths. Medical experts said his mask cleaning tips were not recommended. Health experts recommend soap and water for cleaning reusable cloth masks and 70% ethyl alcohol for proper disinfection. The first time Duterte suggested using petrol on masks, some opponents blasted him for what they called dangerous advice. Japan's foreign ministry announced on late Wednesday that it will lift a ban on the re-entry of some foreign residents from the August 5th. Up to 90,000 foreign nationals with residence permits, including students, business people, and trainees, can re-enter for more than 140 countries and regions. These eligible will have to obtain a re-entry confirmation letter from the nearest Japanese diplomatic mission and submit evidence of a negative virus test conducted within 72 hours of their flight. From September 1st, those conditions will also apply to foreign nationals in other categories, including permanent or long-term residents and spouses and children of Japanese nationals or permanent residents. Japanese citizens are able to re-enter the country from places on the banned list, and foreign residents in Japan can apply for humanitarian exemptions to visit countries on the list and be allowed to return. And that's all we have for today's Asia Outlook on MI Radio. Thank you for being with us. We'll be back next week. Until next time.